Oh, my name's Neil Spurgeon, and we've come for a weekend away, really. My wife's got, it was her birthday present. We were staying in Birmingham yesterday. We came for a murder mystery weekend, and she'd always wanted to go to Warwick Castle, so we came to Warwick Castle today. And we left the castle and sat down at Thomas Oaken's tea rooms to have a cup of tea, and I saw the leaflet for the opening for the courthouse and thought, oh, that looks interesting, wonder where that is. And just then we saw that it was at the Information Bureau, and we saw the eye. So we came in, and then we saw that there was the tour at 4 o'clock, so we joined the tour. And then while we were walking around, the lady said, while we were in the mayor's parlour, she said, oh, and there's a model there of this ship, the adopted ship. And that was my ship. That was the ship that I was serving on from 1977 until 1979. The date they've got is 1974, which was when the ship was adopted. But I was actually promoted petty officer on that ship. While I was actually on that ship, we actually got married. So it's our ship. It's just central to my whole life in a way. It was the ship on which I became a petty officer. I was the yeoman of the ship. That's the senior communications person, but I was the only one. That was my ship.
So what was it like getting married on board ship?
Oh, we didn't get married on the ship, but I got married from the ship. I had to ask permission from my captain to get married. It was one of those stipulations in the Navy, although I was 28 years old. But I remember going in with his captain's signals one morning, and on the top was my request form, request to get married, and he signed it with great aplomb. Even my best man was from a different ship. But I got married in uniform. I had a very long career. I went to sea in 1969 and finally left the Navy in 1994, at which point I was an instructor. But in that time, I did the Falklands, of course, like many people did. I was in Northern Ireland. I was always pulling people out of things. When I was on Herald, we pulled the British out of Bandar Abbas, which is a port in Iran, because while we were there surveying off Iran, the ship was actually being paid for by the Shah of Persia to do the surveying. We were making maps of the sea, but the Shah fell and Ayatollah Khomeini came there, so we had to take people from the British consulate across the Gulf to the other side of the Gulf to keep them safe, because we didn't know what was going to happen in Iran, because it was quite dangerous. And then our ship was pulled off and we were sent to India out the way for a bit. That was when Lynn came out and flew out with the captain's wife and came out and joined us, and we had a week in India on holiday. It was rather nice.
And what's it like living day to day on board ship?
It's a way of life. You either accept it or you don't. A lot of people find it very difficult, but if you're a chummy kind of person, it's a great life. It's a wonderful life for a single man.
Oh, really?
Well, it is. It's much more difficult, particularly when you've got a wife and you've got children. You want to be with them. You don't want to be on the other side of the world for 18 months at a time.
You were mentioning something about flags?
Yeah, that was my job, was flags, signals by flag. I mean, one of the things I did when I was on that particular ship in the Gulf, there were 4 white ships, 4 surveying ships were out there, and the Royal Yacht came out with the Queen. I was the one who was organising, getting the ships all lined up. I was getting my orders from the captain, of course, and we flew flags to tell them when to turn to come past the Royal Yacht. So we did a sail pass, like a fly pass, but a sail pass one after the other to take the salute for the Queen.
And did you have different coloured flags? Or
There's lots and lots of different kinds of flags. There's at least 2 complete alphabets of flags. The international flags, which is what merchant ships use, and the naval alphabet. And then there's a lot of strange flags like preparative, which is a yellow and green flag, which means something is going to happen. When I pull this flag down, then make it happen. So, for example, early in the morning when you have what's called colours, which is when the Navy opens up at 8 o'clock, and sunset in the evening when it closes down, when the sun goes down, 5 minutes before that you pull the green and yellow preparative flag up, and that means get ready, and then pull it halfway down, stand by, and then you pull it all the way down, and then the thing actually happens. They always talk about synchronised watches. Well, you don't synchronise watches in the Navy, you synchronise flags. And everything's done on the drop of a flag. When the flag actually leaves the mast top and comes down is when the thing happens. It's called the executive moment.
Wow, how exciting. Did you have particular flags for when you were doing the sail pass for the Queen?
Yes, well, all flags are sequences. You wouldn't usually you don't just use one flag. You normally would use a combination of flags. So, for example, there's a flag that says, pass me slowly and with great care, because I have divers down. And that is flag code Romeo RY, code Romeo Yankee, on one side of the ship. And then on the side where the divers are, you have flag A, which means the divers are on this side. But the other one means pass me carefully and at slow speed. And you have a whole code book of what the flags mean. And you can do it by flags, or you can do it by flashing the Morse code with a light for the same letters and so on. It's just different ways of sending the same signal. For example, well done in the Navy is BZ, Bravo Zulu. So one sailor to another would say, "Bravo Zulu, well done."
When you're at sea, do you see the stars more clearly?
Oh
than
yes, I used to love doing the morning watch. That's the watch that starts at 4 o'clock in the morning and goes on till 8 o'clock. There's lots of reasons for loving that. For example, at the end of it, you got breakfast, and then you had to clean the mess up, so there was good things and bad things. But the early part of the watch, when it's really pitch dark and then it starts to get light, is absolutely fantastic. And there's nothing like a sunrise at sea. And it's just the most wonderful sight.
What do you see?
The sun rising. It's 1 minute it's dark, and then very, very gradually it just gets slightly lighter and slightly lighter and slightly lighter, and then you see the sun actually pop up. The top of it just pops over, and it's almost like a lighthouse for a moment, and then of course it becomes the sun. And you imagine that after you've been working for maybe an hour or 2 hours, and your eyes are completely adjusted to the dark, absolutely adjusted to the dark, so you can see really quite a lot, and then of course gradually the light gets more and more and you can see more and more.
And have you seen things like the Northern Lights?
Oh yeah, I've seen the Northern Lights. I've seen, the furthest north I've been is Jan Mayen Island and Bear Island. I've been to both of those. And that was where we came to the pack ice and we couldn't go any further north. That's the furthest north I've been. Furthest south I've been is probably New Zealand. The furthest, well, I've been all the way around the world, so there isn't any furthest east or furthest west. But the furthest effectively east would be Japan or Hawaii, somewhere like that. And the furthest west clearly would be obviously the Caribbean or somewhere like that. I've been to 80 countries.
And what do you see when you see the Northern Lights?
Oh, well, if you're quite a long way south, you just see green streaks and things. But if you're further north, you get yellows and reds and purples. And they're almost like streamers in the air, almost like very wide comets, really, but they don't move. Well, they move that way, but they don't seem to move along. They seem to just move sideways. It's almost like an impressionist painting of a Turner sky or something like that. Have you seen the famous Turner painting of the old ship that's being pulled up the Thames by the tug? Well, the sky of that, it's very impressionistic, and it's meant to show that obviously this was the last days of sail and the first days of steam and all that. But the important thing in the sky is that it does look rather like the Northern Lights look in reality.
Well, thank you very much.
That's all right.
Amazing.
Anytime you like.